today we're going to be talking about water pollution, so let's get right into it. So, if we remember, water is a resource. Remember, most of the Earth's water is salt water, so about 98% of Earth's water is salt water. But remember, most, like us, humans, and some other animals rely on fresh water. So we only have about 2% of fresh water, and most of it's stored as ice. So it's super important not to pollute those things. So there are some sources of freshwater pollution. Most are due from human activities. So there's, again, a point source and a non-point source. Remember, a point source is a direct, you can really point out this source of pollution. So we could tell where it's coming from. So we might see it from a leaking landfill going into that fresh water, or even a factory output pipe. So it's we see in this picture. Some non-point sources are runoffs from roads. Okay, so we can't really pinpoint what exact car or whatever is creating this pollution in our fresh water, and also farm pesticides. We could also see these non-point sources as just debris on the side of the freshwater. Okay, so more sources of freshwater pollution. Again, farming waste. So it could be from animal waste to fertilizers and pesticides that get washed away when it rains and it pours into that fresh water. Either it could be the groundwater or surface water. That could cause algae blooms. So those fertilizers and animal waste can cause a bloom in those algae, which block light and reduces the oxygen levels in that fresh water. So it's impacting the ecosystem in that way. We could also see some household pollutants polluting fresh water. We could see that with sewage leaks in groundwater, some industrial wastes, so chemicals that are disposed of factories. They could leak into the groundwater, or it could just be like a point source, so a pipe just flowing into that freshwater source. So sediment, so that's carried away by erosion. So different soils and sediments can be carried away by erosion. That doesn't have to be occurred by humans. That could naturally occur. That can cover food. It could cover nests and eggs in a freshwater. And it also blocks sunlight, again, reducing O2 levels. So we also could see heat. So thermal pollution from cooling machinery, that could affect so certain animals have specific temperatures that they like the most, and if it goes above that temperature, that might impact that population. And lastly, oil and gas. These pipelines could leak into surface water or groundwater, and again, those are not good for the environment. Okay, so what about ocean pollution? So we could see that through natural occurrences, also by human activities. So through natural occurrences, so if freshwater runoff after heavy rain could go into the ocean, and that affects the pH and salinity levels, which can impact the ecosystem. So that's naturally occurring. We humans don't really have an impact on that, but human activities can be from chemicals from that runoff, sewage and waste, pesticides and fertilizers, like we said in the freshwater pollution. We see trash and plastic in our oceans, oil spills, and even aquaculture can impact the environment. Okay, so how do we reduce this pollution? We could pass laws and regulations to protect both the ocean and the freshwater, like lakes and rivers. We could clean oil spills, which we could actually use bacteria to consume some of the oil but we shouldn't all rely on that. We use skimming devices to clean up that that oil spill, and also barriers to contain that oil spill. And also some chemicals can help clean up that oil spill. We could also improve our farming methods, so we don't use like pesticides and fertilizers, and also to have less sediment pour into both the ocean and the fresh water. So leaving stalks in fields with the root to reduce erosion, to prevent sediment running off into different bodies of water. We could use or plant winter grasses that hold the soil for this erosion again. We could use less pesticides so it does not run off into our waters, and also use natural predators to control pests instead of pesticides. Okay, and to reduce pollutants, we should reduce, reuse, recycle. Remember, reduce our consumption. If we can't do that, we should reuse. So reuse the things that we are using, and then after that, we recycle them. And just a reference to reduce pollutants: do not dump medicine or paint or other waste that are harmful down the drain. All of those things can help us reduce pollutants. Okay, and that's all I have. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new.